It's a simple framework, but how do you ensure that your personal brand is stronger, shines brighter, and of course is that much better known credibly in your own ecosystems and communities? That's essentially what we're going to talk about today.
So I'm going to call Viraj. Viraj, you can switch on your camera, buddy.
Alrighty. Hey, Avi, good to see you and super to be here.
Awesome. Thanks for taking the time out. How's everybody at home? All well?
All's well. Thank you so much for asking. It's been a while, you're right, since we partied together, and we need to make that happen super soon.
Yes, Delhi Golf Club, here we come.
Absolutely.
Viraj, the stage is yours. Over to you.
Hey, Avi, thank you so much. And yet again, everyone, good to be here. And I love the fact that we started with this meditation video that Avi played. A big fan of centering yourself before you start. And it really helped me. I'm sure that, it would have been of great merit for everybody. Yet again, Avi, thanks so much for starting us off with that. And all of you, before I get started, and before I start sharing my screen, just quickly wanted to understand that what is it that all of us do? What professions are you in, or what professions do you aim to be in? What do you do currently? What do you intend to do? So one of these two answers, if you can give me, either what are you doing right now, or what is it that you intend to do? Business, emotional clarity, pilot training institute, IT, happiness coach, experience design, style consultant. All right, keep them coming. Artist, art healer, entrepreneur, digital consultant, business consulting, wellness engineer, parenting, mindset coach, wellness coaching, business funding, entrepreneur, digital marketing, run a preschool, side hustle coach. I like that, side hustle coach, nice. Retired MSME business consulting, IT and digital marketing, interior design coach, English trainer, graphic designer. Right. B2B, recruitment, garments, management consultant, would like to be a business coach and life coach. Interesting. Network marketer, manufacturing of excavator parts. Nice. Intellectual property lawyer, recruitment, emotional intelligence coach for teams, very nice. Share trader, green solutions, nice one. Wealth management, makeup artist, super. Digital marketer, all right. I've got a hang of what's going on here. I'm pretty certain management consulting and business development. So while you keep them coming, and I'll keep scrolling through them, but I wanted to generally understand that what's the makeup of this group. And I can see a good 35–40% of us here are in some form of coaching / consulting. Then we've also got folks who are into the new age businesses like green consulting, or even for that matter, greenfield projects. Then we've got, of course, a bunch of people who are also from the world of manufacturing, or from retail. I saw garment, apparel, beauty. So I've got an understanding of who we are. And I think one of the things that memory coach, one of the things that I see is common, is one string that gets all of us together, is that number one, we want to stand out in what we do, either as personal brands or as the brands that our organizations and businesses are, and hopefully both. And I think what we're going to speak about today, and by the way, all of it comes from personal experience. I've never put anything out there which I haven't tried and tested on myself or my company first. So whatever we're going to speak about today essentially comes from personal experience and is, in a way, my story and my journey put together in the form of a framework which all of you can utilize in whatever you do in order to create both a personal as well as a business brand. And having said that, sharing my screen now, if I can, Aryan, if I can please get screen sharing rights. All right, thank you very much. So here we go. Today, we are essentially going to talk about the 4-dimensional personal brand. My feeling is, and by the way, you've all taken mega steps in the direction, consciously and by design, you've already taken mega steps in the direction of being super personal brands. Why I'm saying that is because the very fact that you're here with Avi means that all of you consciously are building a personal brand by design. And we're essentially going to talk about how you can utilize a framework to do that simply but sharply. It's a simple framework. But how do you ensure that your personal brand is stronger, shines brighter, and of course is that much better known credibly in your own ecosystems and communities? That's essentially what we're going to talk about today. And like I said, the challenge with most people on the planet is that they think they're personal brands but are not, or they want to be personal brands but they're not really sure how to go about it. And the worst is to assume that you know what you need to do but not consciously document it, keep track of it by design. And like I said, here's a format, here is a simple template for you to be able to do so. And just so that we're on the same page, here is me beating a little bit of my own drum. And I'm doing this just so that I can create a context for you of where I am today and where all of it started. So just very, very quickly, I'm now a coach and a trainer for 20 years, of which the first 10 years, I was doing coaching, consulting, training, teaching, but mostly leading an advertising agency, a communication, PR, and advertising agency. And every now and then, my company, the company that I was working for, that I was employed with, every now and then when they needed a trainer for the training division, I will also step in as a trainer. So for the first 10 years, I was moonshining as a trainer. I was not a full-time trainer or a coach. And then came 2010, and I said, enough is enough. I know what I'm passionate about, and I need to do this full time. And I launched my own company and went into the big bad world of coaching and training. For a lot of you who are in the world of consulting, coaching, training, here is a quick note for you that it does not come easy. It did not start easy. But if you do it by design, it definitely works. And I keep saying this, that a lot of the dots for me have connected backwards because I did not have a coach like Avi, and I did not have fabulous guest speakers coming in and, in the Internet Google school, teaching you what is it that you're supposed to do in order to rise faster and quicker. I did not have that benefit. So what's taken me 20 years to do, I totally believe that if you do it by design, you can do it in much lesser time. You wouldn't take 20 years to do what I've done in 20. But yeah, it started 20 years ago. Today, my clients include the likes of PepsiCo, Diageo, Pernod Ricard, Accenture, Cognizant, UK India Business Council, a bunch of embassies and high commissions like the Embassy of Denmark, you name it, and we're working across IT, ITS, retail, e-commerce, practically across the board, with offices in India, within India, in Bombay, Bangalore, and Delhi. And also in the last 2 years, we've launched offices in London, Singapore, UAE, and we're in the process of signing up a partner for Japan. What do I teach? What is my specialty? I do everything which falls within the purview of soft skills and behavioral skills, including organization culture, making an organizational brand, both for the employee as well as for the customer, communication, public speaking, negotiation, sales, but everything which largely falls within the purview of soft skills and behavioral skills. Do a bunch of one-on-one coaching, and my clients are first-time TEDx speakers, first-time delivering press conferences, CEOs for the first time, country managers who are coming into their big chair and for the first time realizing that they need to become personal brands, and then they would reach out to me. But on the other side, also a lot of sports personalities, Bollywood personalities, who for the first time are going to be taking center stage and making their presence felt other than on screen or other than on pitch. And of course, the journey of 20 years has landed me in a place where, it's called the top 20 ranked. I don't know exactly what it means, but it feels good nonetheless. And why I'm telling you all of this that's come together on this slide is because this is not how it always was. In the beginning, I did not even think that this is the way it would be. And that's probably the reason why it's taken me 20 years. It took me a long time just to believe that I can do it. Then it took me a long time to understand how I can do it. But once I found my path, it was quick rising. And I would say that I truly figured by design what is it that I want to do essentially in the last 5 years. And just to kind of let you know, when I say, why do you need to be a personal brand by design? Why do you need to be one? Because my journey is a journey of somebody who started from the bottom 2 to the top 20. And it only happened by design. And when I said bottom 2, I'm talking about a small school where English was taught in Hindi, a small town called Nagpur. It's a buzzing city now, but back when I grew up in Nagpur, it was not such a big buzzing city. And a small town boy from Nagpur who learned English in Hindi, has come a long way. But like I said, essentially, it's happened when I started building a brand by design. And so I wouldn't put too much time into it. Let's go straight into how do you really build a personal brand by design by using a framework, which I call the 4-dimensional personal brand framework. And in this framework, the 4 dimensions, and I'm putting them out right up front, not keeping any suspense at it. Essentially, number 1 is self-awareness. Do know that what most people, like I said earlier, also struggle with is awareness. And I really think the more aware you are, the stronger your personal brand will be. And I'm saying it's not just awareness generally. There are 4 categories of awareness that you need to strengthen. 1 is self-awareness. 2nd is social awareness. 3rd is universal awareness. And 4th is action awareness. I keep saying this to a lot of people who say, well, you know what? I don't really need to make a personal brand. That's not what I'm doing. I remind them, whether you like it or not, even if you're not taking any action consciously on building a personal brand, you fortunately or unfortunately are nonetheless creating a brand out there. Both your actions and inactions are resulting in your brand getting positioned or established in the mind of your stakeholders. So you may as well do it consciously, no? And consciously means aware. Consciously means aware across dimensions. And I'm saying not 2 or 3, but 4 dimensions. Many people, by the way, out of these 4 dimensions, are great and very strong at 1, 2, or 3. But when all 4 kick in is when magic starts happening. And here are some examples from my life over the last 20 years, a lot of them recent examples of how I've utilized these 4 dimensions to strengthen my brand. Having said that, when I'm saying self-awareness, and when you see on the right side this figure that's on screen, what does it remind you of? What do you think these 2 lines, which are one horizontal, one vertical, representing? You may want to put it on chat. What do you think is this? Anybody? These 2 lines which are crisscrossing on screen on the right, what do you think they represent? A quadrant, graph, axis, 4 aspects, reflective behavior, SWOT, balance, how you perceive and how you're perceived, magic quadrant, Zohari window, Zoharu, I'm assuming you mean Zohari or Johari. I again see Zohari coming in, SWOT, I like the fact that some of you are pointing towards a SWOT or an axis because we are talking self-awareness, 4 aspects. Yes, in a way, we are talking 4 aspects. We are talking 2 axes and SWOT. Yeah, SWOT comes up very often, I see. I essentially first see this as crossroads. And unfortunately, a lot of us spend a lot of time sitting on that cusp, sitting on that crossroad. यहाँ जाऊं कि वहां जाऊं, ये करूं या वो करूं, जॉब करूं या entrepreneur बनूं, क्या करूं? And we keep postponing the decision of going to one side of this crossroad. And I really think, for me, self-awareness means self-confidence after a bunch of self-reflection and being sure of which way you're headed and committing to it. The day you commit to it is when magic starts happening. And I was at this crossroads for a very long time. My crossroads looked something like this. So on one hand, I thought that I should be a trainer and a coach. On the other hand, I also had the opportunity to be a professional speaker. And mind you, both of these are 2 different things. And mind you, you need to position yourself to become one of these 2. You either are a trainer or coach, or you're a speaker. Can you do it all? Of course you can. Of course you must try to, but you must know primarily who you are. And that's something which comes from self-awareness. What are you good at? What is it that you want to achieve? What do you want the world to remember you for? And you need to commit to one side of the story. Cover the dimension every time you get the opportunity, but be called out and be very sure of what you want to be called out for. And it took me a while to figure that out. I remember that we have a very popular coach and trainer who globally ranks amongst the top 20, sitting out of Canada. His name is Charles Marcus. We got him down as a motivational speaker for one of our corporate events. And we were, going to the venue from his hotel. And on the way, we were, of course, conversing. And he said, Viraj, I've seen your videos. I've seen, your LinkedIn profile. I'm aware of the work that you do. And I must tell you, and by the way, this is only happening about 7 years ago. And he said, I must tell you that you need to pick one side of the story, because I'm not really sure that whether I should pick you up for a motivational speaker or I should pick you up for being a trainer or a coach. On the other hand, and that was the big dilemma for a long time too, that do I want my business to be B2B, enterprise business, or do I want my business to be B2C? And by the way, your positioning varies for both. Can you have a combined positioning for both? Of course you can. But again, just like trainer or coach versus speaker, you need to somewhere choose whether you're primarily B2B or primarily B2C, which would mean that are you going to get your training and coaching assignments primarily from corporate, from other organizations, or are you going to get it from individuals? And again, for a long time, I tried to be both. And then I said, Avi keeps talking about a micro niche. A bunch of my other, coach and trainer friends also talk about knowing exactly what you're positioning yourself for. And I chose a side. And the day I chose the side, that I'm primarily B2B, I'm primarily a coach. Every now and then I may do B2C. Every now and then I may go out there as a speaker, but my positioning is going to be about being B2B and being a trainer and a coach. The grid that you see on screen primarily is used by advertising agencies, brand strategy agencies, in order to help their client brands find a positioning in the market. This is a brand positioning grid. Do not sit on the crossroad. Do a lot of self-reflection. Choose a side. Define what you want the world to know you for and who. You don't need to cater to everybody out there. Choose who you're catering to, who your target audience are. Choose what mediums will you communicate with them on, and choose the side. Don't sit on that crossroad for too long. And here is one way for you to do it. Find out that range that you're catering to in terms of your customer, B2B or B2C, for example. Find out the range of what you want to be known as. 2 ends of the spectrum, trainer and coach, speaker. Put that range out there. You can put a bunch of other ranges, scales in the middle as well, but choose your positioning. So that's one part of it, self-awareness. The second part of it is social awareness. And I'm saying that for me, social awareness essentially means that you don't just stop at being self-aware, because one part of your brand is what you think your brand is. Anybody, what's the other part of your brand? If one part of your brand is what you think you are, what you want to be known for, what's the other part of your brand? What others think of you, what others know of you, how people perceive you, the worldview, what people think about it, perception. Yeah, see how well it works, perception. The E and the C are missing, but I'm still reading it as perception because it's a preconceived notion that this must be perception. And that's how it works. Customer perspective. Absolutely. How people look at you. Absolutely. How people want, what people want from you. I'm assuming that's what you meant, Anshuman. Very, very true. You're all on the right page, bang on. So don't forget this ever, that your personal brand is not just what you want to be, not just what you think you are, but this grid actually finally completes only when you also put the perspective of what others think of you. And others is not just customer, it's all stakeholders put together. It could be employee, it could be customer, it could be investor, it could be potential investor, it could be media. It's about all your stakeholders, your partner, what do they think of you? And when these two dimensions come together, what forms in the middle is your brand. And believe you me, most people spend a whole lifetime being mediocre simply because they assume they know what others feel about them. And what gets left then in the form of your weakness, in the form of your area of improvement, is a blind spot. It's called a blind spot because you cannot spot it. Somebody else has to come in and tell you, and we all have blind spots. The sooner you, and by the way, often a time, blind spots are very small adjustments that you need to make. And the sooner you make those adjustments, the sooner you find success. But you've got to find them by design. By the way, I'm already telling you that our assignment for the day is going to be a framework that I'm going to give you, which you must utilize proactively by design in order to find your blind spots. And having said that, here is something that I learned very early on in life. What you see on screen are 3 generations of the Kalras. The guy on the right is, of course, me, 10 kgs lesser than what I am right now. This is, I think, a picture from about 5 or 6 years ago. The guy in the sunglasses is my father, and standing in the middle with his hands folded is my son. So 3 generations of the Kalra boys in the same picture. We were at a beach resort in a very exotic beach in Sri Lanka. And soon after this picture was clicked, I was talking to my dad and I was telling him, yeah, Papa, I call him Papa. I said, aapka jo relationship Veer ke saath hai, Veer is my son's name, wo mere saath to nahi tha. He said, nahi, what do you mean? I said, you know, the warmth, the love, the hugs that Veer gets, you never gave me those things while I was growing up. And he did not agree. He said, nahi, main to aise hi tha, tumhare saath bhi. Ab tum bade ho gaye ho, to isliye tumhare ko ab itne hugs nahi milte, par pyar to main tumhe utna hi karta hu. But the fact of the matter is that while I was growing up for a very long time, for at least the first 12 years of my life, if you were to ask me, hey, Viraj, 4 villain ke naam bata, name 4 villains. तो मेरे दिमाग में जो नाम आते वो होते अमरीश पुरी, Shakti Kapoor, you know, the villains from the time when I was growing up, maybe before your time, but you've heard of some of these names. But one of those 4 names would definitely have been Papa. Arun Kalra would be a name that would definitely come into my mind as the top 4 villains I've ever come across. Because my relationship with him in the first few years of my life was that of him being a disciplinarian. him being literally a Hitler, which would mean that if my mom had to scare me, she would say, Abhi tere papa ko batati hu. And Papa, the only conversations I would have with him would center around school mein marks kam aaye, tum time pe nahi utte, tum homework nahi karte. He would wake me up at 5 o'clock in the morning on a regular day, including a Sunday, and he would wake me up saying, get up, Kalra. Like, I have a first name. Why do you call me Kalra? And then he would tell me, my hostel warden, he did his growing up in a hostel, armed forces family. He said, my hostel warden used to wake me up every morning and say, get up, Kalra. And on a Sunday, the ritual was, and which was, by the way, to make me more disciplined, the ritual was that I would clean the car. Now, when my father bought a Maruti 800, which was the first Maruti car that ever came to India, when he bought the Maruti 800, I was the happiest boy on the planet. Not because Papa bought a new car, but because the surface area of a Maruti 800 is much lesser than the surface area of an Ambassador, which was the car before Maruti 800. So every Sunday, I had to clean less surface area of a car, and that's why I was happy. So that's the perception I carried of him. If I'm saying Arun Kalra is a personal brand, that personal brand in my mind for the first few years of my life registered as somebody who's a villain. Up until at the age of 12, my mother woke me up one day in the morning. She said, school ka time ho gaya, utho. And I said, pet mein bahut dard ho raha hai. And she said, wo to main roz sunti hu. Get up before I call your dad. And I woke up because dad fear, so I woke up and I actually had a pain that day in my stomach, which was very bad. Now, when I was doubling over, while I was brushing my teeth, my mom, and I was crying, my mom realized that I genuinely am in pain. So she rushed me to the doctor. My father that day was supposed to take a flight and go from Nagpur to Delhi. So he was going to the airport. My mom was taking me to the doctor. This is pre-mobile phone ka zamana. And the doctor saw me. The first thing he said is, he needs to be operated on right now. His appendix is on the verge of bursting. Kabhi bhi phad jayega, iski abhi surgery karni padegi. So they rushed me to the pre-surgery. I don't know how my mother, because like I said, mobile phone to hote nahi the. I don't know how my mother coordinated with my father. But one thing I remember is that when I was being taken from the pre-OT to the OT, pre-operation theater जहाँ पे आपको prep करते हैं, आपको, they give you the IV and everything, and with all of that, they trolley you to the theater. When I was being trolleyed to the theater, now I'm a 12-year-old boy going through surgery for the first time. I should have been shivering, crying, feeling fearful, but I had a big smile on my face. Because when I was being trolleyed from the pre-OT to the OT, I saw my father has come. And I saw he's crying. He had tears in his eyes. And for the first time I realized, dil hai iske paas. प्यार तो करता है मुझसे, दिखा नहीं पाता शायद, पर करता जरूर है. And from that day onwards, my respect for him, my affection for him grew and changed completely. And that's the point I'm making. A lot of us go through an entire lifetime struggling with our careers because we don't even know what is that one thing people don't like about us. Could be very easy to change. All you need is that feedback if you proactively ask for it, and people will point out a blind spot for you, which you're unaware of. Because my father did not believe that he was a father who could have been hated. And I hope that none of us end up making that mistake with our personal brand, not just for our customer, for our employees, for our partners, for our co-founders, for our friends, family. There could be just this. Most of us, often a time, are not as expressive as we should be. But if somebody tells us, "Ki bhai, sirf gussa mat dikhaya kar, kabhi-kabhi pyar bhi dikha diya kar," maybe with that feedback, we would be more expressive. We would have more expression in terms of dimensions, much needed. That's something to keep in mind. That often a time, all that we are suffering with is not getting the perspective to strengthen our brand from the other side, and the other side is everything. For example, even right now, I'm constantly looking at the chat window while I'm talking so that I know we are on the same page. And when I get that reciprocation that yes, we are on the same page, I love it. So keep it coming. Thank you so much. And having said that again, moving on very quickly, if these are the two dimensions, here is the third one, which is universal awareness.
Viraj, sorry, loving the story. I'm just reminding all the guests. I know you're having an awesome time with this, with Viraj's talk. Don't forget to continuously document your learnings on the Learn Social Media group. Whatever you're learning, continue to document that so that at the end we can show to Viraj what you learned, and also we'll pick up a few of you and have you ask personal questions. So Learn Social Media. Aryan, please put the link to Learn Social Media again. Aryan has already put in the Viraj's picture. Go there and put in your learnings as you are as you're learning. Put in your comments over there as well. Thank you, Viraj.
Hey, Avi, thanks so much for reminding us of that. And I hope that I'm doing all right on time. I think I'm going to take 7-8 more minutes to get this wrapped up. Is that okay?
We're really enjoying ourselves. You take your time, my friend.
All right. Thank you so much. Thanks so much. All right, folks. So while I still have your attention, this is the third dimension. And often a time again, we tend to not keep this dimension in a conscious, everyday, by design effort. And the ones who do are the ones who grow leaps and bounds, the universal awareness dimension. Of course, what we see on screen is a picture that we've all hated over the last 2 years. That's, of course, the coronavirus, tough times. The last 2 years, I know, have been personally and professionally tough for a lot of us. A lot of us changed gears for the first time when we hit that glass ceiling, which was brought about by, the pandemic. And the fact of the matter is that I view what has happened to us in the last 2 years. When I say us, I mean us at open brackets, me personally as a trainer and a coach. I call it lost 160, gained 2000. Anybody, any idea what am I talking about? Lost 160 what and gained 2000 what? Anybody? Yes, it is the universal awareness. So looks like the sun, client, opportunity, client. Yeah. You're thinking on the right lines, absolutely. In my world, clients, yes. In my world, business works in the form of days, which means training days, coaching days. Within the first 48 hours of India announcing a lockdown, and I was at a farm, at a friend's farm, we were chilling, having a great time. It was an extended weekend, if you remember, when the lockdown was called. Within the first 48 hours of the lockdown, I love that, Rashmi. 2000 times awareness and losing 160 kgs of ego. We all need to shed that ego as often as possible. Very good one, Rashmi. I love that. I love that. But no, in this case, I'm talking about training and coaching days. We lost 160 days of training, of which we lost 90 days of confirmed training days within the first 48 hours of the lockdown being called. The emails, the SMSs, every time I would look at my phone, and I stopped looking at it after a while, every time I looked at my phone, every time I looked at my email, there was one confirmed business day which we lost. Because obviously our entire business is corporate. Corporate business completely shut down. Most of our business happens, most of my training and coaching happens at off-site locations. We go to a fancy Maldives, into a beautiful resort, and that's where we would train our clients. No travel, nothing. Businesses did not know what's going to happen the next day. Training is still, whatever said and done, in the mind of a corporate, a luxury. It's not a necessity. They took all of that business away. I was talking with my partners in the evening. The first thought that came to their mind is, listen, everybody is going through a tough time. maybe there's an opportunity going B2C, because B2B looks like it's not coming back for a while. And of course, we did a few B2C webinars, we did a few journey programs on public speaking mastery, on train the trainer. But I think that's where the whole universal awareness phenomena comes in. I put my foot down and I said, listen, our positioning is that of a corporate consulting, training, and coaching company. And I don't want to dilute that only because right now, today, our clients are canceling on us. I said, let's hold their hands. Let's stand by them. Let's give them coaching. Let's give them training. Let's not stop doing that, because somewhere the universal awareness for me was that there will be revenge buying. And that's what universal awareness really is, for you to be able to keep track of how the world is working and not just how your business is working. Change your president in United States of America. What would it do to your personal brand? Is there an opportunity there, or will it bring along a threat? Everything that goes on, the Bitcoin announcement that happened yesterday in the morning, that there's going to be a bill which is going to restrict the blockchain phenomena in India. How is that going to impact your personal brand? If you're asking yourself that question all the time, that जो भी दुनिया में चल रहा है, demonetization, GST, coronavirus, change of presidents, the upcoming elections, how is that going to affect my personal brand? And if you keep making that connection all the time, chances are you'll be able to strengthen your personal brand that much more. So I knew somewhere at the back of my mind that today the corporate opportunity is nosediving like this, but very soon, how will this corporate keep their employee engaged who's working out of home? They'll need to learn a bunch of new skills. For example, just interacting on a Zoom call with their clients. उनको भी तो ये करना पड़ेगा ना, सिर्फ हमको थोड़ी करना पड़ रहा है. किसी को अगर सेल्स करना है कल और अगर मार्केट बंद है तो सेल्स करना उनको वीडियो पे सीखना पड़ेगा. I said that there is going to be an opportunity here right now. Give them free training and coaching. Tell the corporate clients that we have that in these tough times, we don't expect that you pay us. Let's teach your people those skills which they will definitely need in this new normal. Pay us when you have the fucking money. And we went ahead and we did that. And believe you me, in 2 months' time, we had corporates lining up by the gazillion saying that what you're teaching to us for free, we want you to do multiple batches across the organization, not just in India, but our offices in UK, our offices in Germany, our offices in Singapore. Please teach us these skills for the new normal. And when we lost, what we gained in the process by just keeping track of the trends in the world is 2,000 fresh days of paid business. So strengthen that positioning, don't lose confidence in it, but yes, keep making adjustments to it. Basis what you see are the trends, not just in your market, not just with your competition, but trends of how the world is looking around you and how it is going to impact you. That's universal awareness. And last but not the least, then friends, is action awareness. And it's very good to be aware and all that. Most of us are very aware. But the personal brands who really kick it to the top of the rung, the top 1%, as I call them, are the ones who are not just aware, but actually take action. And if you are just somebody who's gaining a lot of knowledge, but not doing anything with it, that's not going to create your brand. Collect that feedback from your stakeholders, do a lot of self-reflection, do a lot of universal general awareness, but finally take all of that and move. You know, I love this definition of an entrepreneur. I don't know who said it, but I live by it every day. What or who is an entrepreneur? An entrepreneur is a person who jumps from the top of a cliff and builds his or her wings on the way down. Take action. Don't just sit with all of this knowledge and insight. Put it to use right away. For the longest time, I wasn't, and this is, by the way, here I have to make a confession. Avi, are you around? I have a confession to make.
I'm right here.
So this is motivation that came to me from Avi. I remember that Avi and I, after a long time, met up at a friend's place. And Avi by then is this super duper social influencer. He says, Viraj, tu kya kar raha hai aajkal? So I told him that I'm doing training and coaching. He said, yeah, why aren't you utilizing the leverage of social media? I said, yeah, my business is all corporate, wo social media thodi dekhte hain. And he said that you're making the biggest mistake of your life if you're not going to utilize and leverage social media. He said, maybe you have 10 clients, 20 clients, 100 clients right now, but you have the potential to take it to 1,000. And the only thing that is missing is you going out there and putting content. Content bana, content dal. I remember Avi said this to me. I researched Avi's page. I researched everything that he was doing. I was super motivated, but I also realized there, ये design, template, video, design agency hire karna padega. LinkedIn पे I cannot just make a post on my own and put it out there. For a long time, I still procrastinated. I still did not take action on it. But the fact of the matter is that the day I started taking action, the phone hasn't stopped buzzing. We take pride in the fact in saying we have never done a sales call to a new client. Clients call us, we don't call them. And that has only happened from the day I started taking social media seriously. With all of that insight which came from gurus like Avi, I started utilizing it and putting it into action. आएगी design agency जब आएगी PR agency जब आएगी, but that does not mean you can keep waiting for it. You have to put content out there. In today's day and age, irrespective of whether you're B2B or you're B2C, and this is just one example, there are 10 other insights, wisdom, knowledge that we have, which we're not actioning. And the biggest form of personal brand is a brand that is constantly in action. You learn, you deploy. You learn, you deploy. If you're not deploying, then that fourth dimension is missing. I put a post out on Instagram earlier today talking about how we're doing a lot of work with Dr. Oetker. That's Fun Foods for the ones who may not know them as Dr. Oetker. How we're doing a bunch of work with Dr. Oetker with their leadership team on diversity and inclusion. I put that post out in the morning. In about 12 hours time, I have 3 new businesses that have reached out to us, HR heads, training heads of 3 new clients that we never worked with, saying, hey, listen, looks like you're doing work on diversity with the leadership team of Dr. Oetker. Can you please tell us what you can do for us? Each time I put a LinkedIn post, each time I put an Instagram post, I have got the return on investment on it. Did it happen on day one? It did not. Your community builds over a period of time. Your credibility within that community builds over a period of time. But that ROI is 101% going to come if you are consistently taking action, and action based on feedback that you're getting from your stakeholders. So when you put all of these 4 dimensions together, remember that every brand, every personal brand out there that has ever been successful, they are either consciously or subconsciously. If they're doing it subconsciously, maybe they're taking much time like I did. But if they're doing it consciously, each one of these people on screen have conquered these 4 dimensions in order to reach where they have reached. They've done major changes in life, behavior, attitude. Every move of theirs has been done by design. And so that's how these 4 dimensions come together. Some other day, we'll talk about the fact that how this is cyclic. It does not happen once and end. You have to keep at it constantly. आप एक्शन करोगे, आपको फीडबैक मिलेगा, उस फीडबैक को सेल्फ अवेयरनेस के साथ, सोशल अवेयरनेस के साथ जोड़ोगे और फिर ये साइकिल फिर से घूमेगी. आप एक बार ब्रांड बना के नहीं छोड़ सकते. वो ब्रांड कॉन्स्टेंटली अपग्रेड होगा, वो डायनामिक रहेगा, वो अजाइल रहेगा. हो सकता है आज की पोजीशनिंग आज से 5 साल के बाद या हो सकता है 2 साल के बाद भी रेलेवेंट ना हो. But you need to keep doing this constantly. And the ones who are, the ones who have become the Vivekanandas, the ones who are, the ones who have become, who's the person on screen right now, by the way? The new picture that showed up on the right next to social awareness. Anybody? Who's the lady that's come to the screen right now? Ishan, absolutely. Rajshri, absolutely. Who is she? What's she popular for? What has Sheryl Sandberg done? Facebook says Niharika, absolutely. She's pretty much the second in command for Facebook after Mark Zuckerberg. She's not an early riser in her career. She's somebody who rose in her career very late in life. If you've read the book Lean In, which is her autobiography, then you know. If you haven't read Lean In, I would suggest that you should read it. A lot of people say it's a great book for a woman to get motivated to, so they should read. I'm saying not just a woman, everybody should read that book, Lean In. And in that, she tells a story of how, for the longest time, she was somewhere in the middle in her career. And she'd been at it for a long time. She had colleagues and peers who became whatever they became. And she got this direct feedback. You have to be open to feedback. You need to be seeking feedback. She got this direct feedback from Mark Zuckerberg saying, I think you are one of the wisest people I know, but you're not assertive. What's missing in your personal brand is that you're just too cooperative. You don't assert. You don't put your foot down. You don't like to play the devil's advocate. You don't like to critique ideas. Whereas I think your ideas are brilliant, even if they're contrary to mine. She took that feedback seriously, and that's social awareness. And she said, I'm going to do something about it. And that's action awareness. And she went out there and started asserting more. And she said from the day she started asserting, her career graph grew like this. One piece of feedback which comes to you, you action it, and that's what it can do to your personal brand. And like I said, I can keep going on and on with examples and stories, but I hope that I've made my point clear. Look at Gandhi. He knew that all revolutionaries on the planet rise from within the people. वो सूट पहन के आके इंडिया में revolution नहीं कर सकते. With that bit of universal awareness of what happened in the world of revolutionaries across the world, also being aware that भैया violent movement तो बहुत लोगों ने promise करी. Build a brand around non-violent movement and wear khadi. Don't wear a suit when you're talking about non-violent movement. And that's how personal brands are built. Consciously, with effort, with feedback, with awareness. And Steve Jobs, the second coming back to Apple, was more successful than when he started Apple. He got kicked out of his own company, as you would know. I mean, it's a popular story. He hired the CEO, and the CEO he hired fired him from Apple. The lesson that he learned and he put it to action is that I'm too arrogant. I'm too restless. वो दुनिया में जब काम करने निकलता था तो दुनिया वालों को बोलता था कि भैया ऐसा मेरे पास तेरी बकवास का टाइम नहीं है, मैं जल्दी में हूं. I don't have the time to get you up to speed. You new intern at Apple, get your act together before you come and meet me. People were scared around him. He would fire people just because they were not on the same wavelength as him. When he came back after two unsuccessful businesses, post-Apple, when he came back to Apple, he came back a much changed man because he realized कि दुनिया में आप कुछ कर ही नहीं सकते अकेले. You need people to align with you in order for you to do things. He changed behavior, he changed attitude, and that's what became the brand that we know today. So awareness and action, that's the end of this story, my friends. I hope this has been of help.